It's your under degrees. Sip with me. I'll pour it hot, so hot. I'll pour it sweet, so sweet. Spilling this tea, spilling and sipping this tea, spilling and sipping this tea. Thanks for watching me, tuning in, subscribing, hitting that like, smash that like. I don't bite, no. It's your under degree, feeling great, spilling tea. Have a seat and join me. Sip some tea, unwind with me. Let's grab a snack and talk some smack. I'm your girl, I got your back. I got the news, I got the views. I bet you can't wait, I know you can't wait to sip this tea. Sip this tea. Spilling this tea. Spilling and sipping this tea. Spilling and sipping this tea. Spilling this tea. Spilling and sipping 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 this tea. Thanks for watching me, tuning in, subscribing, hitting that like, smash that like. I don't bite, no. It's your under degree, shining bright, set the stage. Hollywood dreams, red carpet scenes, glitter and glow, the secrets I know. Drama with flair, I serve it rare. I got the scoop, I got the proof. I know you can't wait, so come and escape and sip this tea. Sip with me, spilling this tea, spilling and sipping this tea, spilling and sipping this tea, spilling 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 and sipping this tea.
What's going on, Diamond Gang? What's up to my Rumble family? Shouts out to my YouTube family. I am streaming live from Rumble through YouTube. Well, through Rumble to YouTube, okay, guys. So tonight it's another war update. Things is getting so heated, guys. It's getting out of control. It really is. We got a lot to go over. Let me say shouts out to my moderators. Dion, that's on the YouTube side. MT, my boy Mitch, my girl Robin. Hey, Ken, baby doll. Thank you for coming. Thank you. So we got a lot to get into, but let me first start off with all opinions will be respected over here. You just can't be disrespectful. We encourage you to please join in the chat, okay? This is a safe space, regardless of how you feel. If you have an opposing opinion, it's okay. Put it in the chat. We can agree to disagree. Again, you may change my mind on the way that I'm looking at things, or I may change your mind, okay? So please, make sure you guys follow me on Rumble, The Great Spills the Tea. I also have The Great Reactions, where I react to viral moments. Please follow me on both channels. If you are on YouTube, please, and thank you, subscribe to The Great Spills the Tea. I cover basically the same content. It's a little different, on Rumble. There's some things that I can cover on Rumble that I can't on YouTube, but it's not that much of a difference, okay? So you're pretty much celebrity gossip. All of my live streams will be war updates, political topics, okay? On Rumble and YouTube. But guys, let me give you a rundown of what we're going to be talking about. Again, there is so much going on. We will be talking about the soldiers that lost their life, okay? Private Isabella Gonzalez, she was only 19 from Texas. She was unalived during the Iranian missile drone attack, Air Base Jordan. First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, he was from Hawaii. He was also unalived in the Iranian missile drone attack at Air Base Jordan. Okay, there is one unnamed U.S. service member that was unalived in northern Iraq. Okay, and then there's unidentified remains of another soldier. Okay, so we will definitely be talking about them. Guess what, guys? We talked about this the other day. I was not sure if the Houthis was going to get involved, but guess what? They are involved and they are threatening Saudi Arabia to shut down part of the Red Sea. Do you know what that is going to do to the world globally? It's going to crush the world. It's going to crush I'm telling you, if they shut that down, there's no way the gas is going to get in and out. So it's going to be terrible. We will also be talking as far as these strikes. We're on a 10th round. Guys, allegedly, we're running out of munition. We may not be able to continue this. Okay. Also, Iran, they tried to put a 10-day ceasefire in place today. Iran said, nope, it's off the table. We're not doing it. Allegedly, President Trump and Pete Hegseth, they are keeping the numbers of fatalities, wounded, and damages away from us. And guess what, guys? The Islamic Resistance of Iraq said if the U.S. continues to strike Iran, that they were going to get in it. They're going to get in it. So this is what Iran wants. They said that they were going to widen this war and spread it out. It looks like that's happening. So now it's involving multiple countries. I also said that eventually Iran will strike Israel directly. Believe me when I say this. I watch this all day, every day. So that is my opinion, and that's what I believe. It's getting crazy. But let me bring up my screen and we could get straight into it, guys. It's a lot going on. Give me just 2 seconds, guys. A lot. Yeah, we're running out of munitions. I don't know what we're going to do, but it's not looking good. Like I said, this MOU, I believe Trump wanted to be done with this war, and he was willing to basically capitulate to Iran and give them what they wanted until he got the backlash from the Republicans. So I think this will affect the midterms. I really do. Okay, I got my video up. Hold on, guys. Let me share my screen with you guys. This is insane. There's a lot of stuff going on. And here's the thing. Here's the deal. A lot of our allies, a lot of the Arab countries is going to feel like the US is not protecting them. Okay? So again, this goes back to what I said as far as us having a stain on us as a country. We may not, I'm telling you, we will have very few allies when this is all said and done. Okay? Because Iran is destroying those other Gulf countries. Okay? striking them hard. So let's get into it, guys. Hold on. And I wanted to start off showing their face because they lost their lives. That's Isabella Gonzalez right there. Young, 19. And that is Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan. A third soldier has been declared missing after the strikes. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Let me pull it back again. Look at that devastation. She was only 19. He was only 25. Again, a third soldier has been declared missing after the strikes in Jordan. Remains have been found at the base, but have not yet to be identified. And we still have one missing. Okay. Another U.S. service member was declared deceased in northern Iraq Sunday. Okay. That's a total of 4 after a controlled detonation of an Iranian attack drone, according to the U.S. military. Now, let me stop here. Do you guys believe that Iran believes that we will take this further? Do you guys believe that? And we talked about Iran holding out because of the midterms. I said this. We went over this, that they would hold out into the midterms as far as coming to the table and making a deal. Okay. They know that this war is unfavorable. They know that the American people, majority, is against it. And do you think, guys, that Israel will get involved? They claim that Israel is not getting involved for a reason. We told them to stand down. I'm not sure if I believe that, but let's go. Let's talk about it. Hold on. Really quick, you guys can't see the video because I didn't add it to the stage. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. Let me take it back. I apologize. Sorry, guys. Here we go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mitch. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to take it back. Sorry, guys. Okay. So there go Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19. And there is Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan. They both lost their lives. And again, there is one that is not identified just yet. A third soldier declared missing after the strikes in Jordan. Remains have been found at the base but not have yet to be identified. Sorry, guys. Now, another U.S. service member was declared deceased in northern Iraq Sunday. So this is a whole different strike, okay? After a controlled detonation of an Iranian attack drone, according to the U.S. military. Listen, Iran is saying that there's a lot more. There's a lot more. The Wall Street Journal came out with a report today saying that Pete Hegseth and President Trump is hiding the the fatalities and the injured.
How do we get out of there without the Iranians not at least believing we're willing to take this even further?
Again, do you guys believe that Iran think that we will take it further? Again, I believe that they're holding out, or they're trying to hold out until the midterms. But then again, the IRGC, they're making a lot of decisions, and the IRGC don't care about none of this. They don't care about the midterms. They don't care about none of this. Okay? All right, let's go.
That's a great question. Look, I think the biggest issue here, Joe, is that both sides appear to be misreading the other. And you talk about them waiting Trump out and believing that he is so afraid of the midterms that he'll do anything for a bad deal. I think that's a misread of where his head is. I mean, and you're starting to see that in these escalatory attacks and the fact that the military is positioning itself to return to major combat operations. The Israelis have not been joining in these escalatory attacks. There's a reason for that. They don't want these.
Well, let me stop it real quick. Robin, have a good night. I hope you feel better, okay? And I'll see you the next live stream. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Israelis in right now. But if we return to major combat operations, that means that all the gloves will come off and the Israelis will get back involved. And I think the Iranians are...
Now, you heard that. He said all the gloves will come back off and the Israelis will get involved. Let me take it back just a little bit. Listen, guys.
Reason for that. They don't want the Israelis in right now. But if we return to major combat operations, that means that all the gloves will come off and the Israelis will get back involved. And I think the Iranians are misreading Trump's his self-interest here and his seriousness with which he's willing to go back to war. I also think the Trump administration is misreading the Iranians, and don't fundamentally understand the split inside the regime itself. It's not a monolith, and the will of the IRGC to continue to fight. The IRGC they don't care about the Iranian people. They don't really care about the economic costs. These guys are zealots, and they'll fight to the end. So both sides are misreading the other, and I think that's what makes this a particularly dangerous moment.
Yes, very dangerous. The IRGC. Like I said, I believe that they're making all the decisions, and I don't think they care about any of that either. I think that they want revenge. They want revenge, which brings us back to the MOU, which gave Iran everything. I believe, and I'm going to say this again, it became a problem to President Trump once the Republicans and others gave him backlash. I still believe Iran will still come out when this is said and done in a better position than they ever were. So better than they were pre-war. Okay, I believe that. That's my opinion, and that's what I believe. But let's hear it.
Let's circle back and go back to the MOU for a second, something that we have to do, because if the United States gave the Iranians those terms, gave them $500 billion.
You said, so why isn't, hold on, let me read your comment. So why isn't Israel involved right now? From my understanding, they told them to stand down. I'm not sure why, or if they feel like they're not needed at this point in time. But, they believe that if it, let's say ground operations happen, that they will enter, they'll come through then. We'll see. We will see.
Gave them basically de facto control of the strait, allowed them to continue their nuclear program, allowed them to continue unabated their missile program. And again, funded them $500 billion, lifting sanctions off of their oil, which the State Department just a week before that deal had.
Let me stop this really quick, and I apologize. I have to get used to this because I'm streaming through Rumble on a YouTube. And because I'm on a different screen showing this video, because I have to stop it, I can't see you guys on both sides. So I'm going to have to get another device. I want to say shouts out to Marie, shouts out to Dion, and shouts out to my girl Papaya. Thank you for coming back. Thank you. All right, Diamond Gang, let's get into it.
Said this is how the Iranians fund their terror operations. it would have left Iran in a stronger position than it's been in 47 years. They would have left Iran as the dominant power in that region. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, let's just get out of there. Well, yeah, let's get out of there, but with an understanding that the Iranians are at the very most going to be where they were when this war began. And that's going to be a real challenge for the president because, of course, it may require some military troops to keep the strait open.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a situation now where, and I'm glad David raised this, where it seems as if everyone is putting their foot on the gas, nobody is putting their foot on the brake here. And so when that is happening, you've seen mutual miscalculation after mutual miscalculation. So this war begins with a catastrophic miscalculation by the Trump administration that this could be like Venezuela 2.0. The prospects of that were never good at all. And then when that didn't work out, it was obvious they didn't have another plan. And now, Joe, I'm wondering about the Iranian government here. If there is a miscalculation on their part, they could have wrapped both arms around that memorandum of understanding and emerged from the conflict stronger, in a stronger position than when it began strategically.
I'm going to be honest. I have to agree with him. If they would have just held out a little longer, and just as far as the straits and them actually, shooting at ships that did not get their permission or, come through their way, I think that they could have came out on, basically better than they ever were, because there would have been no reason for any of this at all, except, let me say this, because remember, guys, they asked for full withdrawal out of Lebanon. They're still not getting that, and that was in the MOU as well. But again, I think that they should have just chilled out. Okay, I really do. You figure they had sanctions lifted on them. They were selling oil. They were making money that they have never made. So let's go.
A clear loss for the U.S. But now again, they're continuing to close the strait. They're continuing to keep it closed. That's fundamental to any deal to end the war. And now they're taking serious damage along with us, obviously. Again, nobody has a foot on the brake here at all.
But here's the deal, okay? Despite campaigning to stay out of wars abroad, Trump has entangled the U.S. in a war with Iran. We still don't have a solid strategy. We don't have an exit strategy. So here's the thing. At what cost do the U.S. keep going? Is it more soldiers losing their lives? The economy is upside down. The gas price is going up. At what cost? What cost? This is crazy. This is the activity with no clear exit.
This president ran on a campaign of no more forever wars. And he called them stupid wars in the Middle East. And right now he's been engaged in a war which seems to lack any real strategic logic. But I think one of the questions that we struggle with here in the United States, Frankie, is whether political logic actually weighs upon this administration. The first term, we did see that they were watching the poll numbers, they were watching the stock market. But the question here is, do more casualties actually impact the decisional calculus on the part of the president? That's unclear at this point. It seems to us here watching it, which is concerning, is that political or presidential psychology is more important than the political costs. This president seems to see himself in historical terms. And so some of the questions that we would ask of a regular president in the past, in terms of how the midterms would affect the decision making, what the economic impact how that would weigh on decision making.
Listen, I believe right now he's trying to please two sides of the fence. Two sides of the fence. Because remember, the Republican Party never wanted him to stop bombing. They never wanted him to, they were not okay with this ceasefire. They wanted him to keep going. So, and then he's worried about the American people, midterms. So, I mean, this is, and I could see, you know, something coming out within another week about these casualties. You guys know CENTCOM will deny it. The Iranians will put it out there, and then we will admit later. Okay? This is how it goes. This is how this war has been going. CENTCOM denies it. Iran will pop us in a lie and put it out there, and then they'll announce it because they have no other choice. Okay? Let's go.
Those things may be detached at this point, and that's what makes this conflict particularly dangerous.
Swift punishment is the
Now, they claim that the ninth, now we're on the 10th round. You guys know how I do it. I start from the previous 24 to 48 hours, then I work my way to what's going on in real time. Okay? So we still about maybe 30 hours behind from what's going on today. Okay? But this ninth round of strikes, Trump said it was a call for swift action against Iran for the strikes in Jordan, unaliving 2 soldiers. At the time, it was only 1 missing and 4 injured. Okay. They claim that these strikes that they're doing is to further degrade Iran's capability. Okay. So that they won't be able to, shoot at ships in the strait. Okay. This is what they claim that they're doing right now. All right, let's go.
wording that U.S. Central Command said when about 4 hours ago announced the beginning of this latest round of airstrikes against Iran, punishment for the retaliatory strikes that Iran issued on the U.S. forces in Jordan, in which 2 service members were killed, yet another is still missing, and 4 others were injured, hospitalized, and then released. Now, as far as what's being targeted in this latest wave, CENTCOM says this is again to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, military targets, as it has in the last 7 days taken credit for. But President Trump, just days earlier, had also made wider threats, saying that
that part, they're playing the blame game. Okay, so Iran said, you hit, infrastructure, so we're going to do it. Okay, so they're blaming each other for the same things, and they're both sides are doing it.
Iranian bridge and every Iranian power plant would be on this target list if Iran didn't return to negotiations. And this was before the latest deaths of those U.S. service members, which again is just greater escalation in this conflict, which now to this point has cost 16 U.S. service members' lives.
Mitch said tit for tat. That's exactly what's going on right now. That is exactly what's going on. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, Iran is causing significant damage to those Gulf countries. They did an ambush against the U.S., and they did this as the U.S. was in the midst of, they were getting ready to attack Iran, and they did an ambush. Guys, I'm telling you, you have no idea how serious this is getting, but you will when we get done. And at the end of this live, you won't believe, out of everything that's going on, what country is benefiting the most. China. And we'll get into that at the end.
What I'm trying to say here is Iran's absolutely bringing out the big guns. Iran is trying to change the narrative in the Middle East by using strategic weaponry like this. Now, in terms of the damage that Iran done, the first thing I want to highlight, and the first attack we saw, is this particular attack. What happened here is what happened here, allegedly, is Iran
Yep.
attacked US troops as they were preparing to attack Iran. They ambushed them and they caught them by surprise.
That part, Papaya said like a slow rolling world World War III. Yes, exactly. I think that's what Israel always wanted that. But Iran is using this as a strategy by, getting other countries involved, and yeah. So let's go. They said, listen, if you allowed the US or if you assisted them in any strikes toward us, I'm sorry, but we will attack those facilities. So yeah, it is. It's a slow rolling WW3. Okay. I'm gonna say it like that.
They specifically attacked the American HIMARS system, which has been incredibly effective in Ukraine against the Russians. Now, Trump came out, CENTCOM came out and said nothing of the sort happened. But a few days later, we saw a few medical evacuations from the Middle East, which is most likely from this Iranian attack. What else have we seen?
That part, Marie said, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and other countries that's hitting this will suffer collateral damage. And that's where it's going to come in, that they're going to look at the US some type of way. We can't protect everybody. That's just the bottom line. So this is, I'm telling you, this is not going to end well for us. Okay? As far as allies, as far as, and it won't end well for everyone, because again, they're cutting off two sides. So like no one will be able to get oil. So globally, once again, they're putting pain. Okay? They're putting pain on everyone.
Now, this is also a very interesting attack. This is in northern Iraq. The Iranians seem to have attacked something in the airport in Erbil, which is where the Americans are stationed. And
now, these are different places that they, struck.
It's on fire. Now, a day later, the Iranians released this satellite image, which shows...
Boom. And this is another reason why I brought this clip. This is what they do. When CENTCOM denies something, they will put out the imagery. They will put that video out in a heartbeat to debunk anything that we've said. And from my understanding, they're saying there's a lot more casualties. Okay?
That they attacked a Patriot missile defense system. This is the before over here, and this is the after. And as you can see, this is the Patriot missile defense system, which is an incredibly important system for defense against ballistic missiles that the Iranians have. And to actually score a hit on this is incredibly tactical, because these are not cheap to produce. There's not a lot of them. And the fact that Iran managed to hit it shows the strategic levels of it. Murtaza, like from the American side, what's Donald Trump's strategy here?
Well, if you look at the way Trump tried to negotiate a deal with the Iranians, it was very...
And let me say this before he says what he has to say. This is another reason that MOU was an epic failure. And that's my opinion. The U.S. had no type of technical negotiating team. And that's a fact. Witkoff and Kushner know nothing about negotiating a war. Okay? So we had no type of technical negotiating team, which, again, left the MOU. It was basically a piece of paper in my book, and it was very vague, and it left each side to interpret what they wanted to. Okay. I think that they did this just to get Iran to the table. Okay, I really do. I think President Trump was tired. He was over it. He wanted to start those negotiations. But look what happened.
inept. He didn't have large technical teams trying to draft a document that both sides would understand in the same way or could be implemented very cleanly. It seemed almost like he was capitulating to the Iranians to get them to agree to end the war, but without actually wanting to implement the terms of the agreement. So if you look at the MOU that Trump agreed to, it's quite vague, but also it seems very, very favorable to Iran. And it seemed like the U.S. didn't actually have much appetite to implement its terms, just like it's pretty much backed out on many deals it's made with the Iranians over the past decade under Trump, even attacking them during negotiations and so forth. So I think that we're seeing the consequences of the deal that Trump did not negotiate in good faith. He did not negotiate competently because he didn't actually ensure that the language is clear enough that it could prevent another outbreak of conflict, even due to misunderstanding between.
Listen, it failed within a week, almost 2 weeks. You said at this point we can't even protect ourselves. Yeah, it's getting rough. Again, guys, we talked about munitions 2 months ago. Okay. So, and then Congress, look, they're asking for trillions of dollars. So this is insane.
The two sides, or a different interpretation of certain things, like what does the control of the Strait of Hormuz mean exactly. For all those reasons, he's been dragged back into the war. But, I'll tell you something. I was talking to people in Iran, analysts and so forth during the war, and it was very interesting because they always said that they expected the U.S. to start the war again. They didn't really trust they would implement the memorandum of understanding.
We've now had more than a week of...
Now listen, 5 ways the Iran war can escalate, okay? Number 1, an increase in American casualties. That's that's a no-brainer, okay? If there is direct back and forth between Iran and Israel, okay? If there's an attack causing mass civilian casualties, all right? That's number 3. Number 4, if the U.S. and Israel believes that Iran, their nuclear program is still active, that's another reason. Number 5, economic shock, which it's on its way. Okay, we're headed that direction because, again, the Houthis has entered. They are closing part of the Red Sea. Saudi Arabia will not be able to get their oil out. They're putting pressure on them. So the only other thing would be a new ceasefire. And they tried to do that today. A 10-day ceasefire. The IRGC said no. Okay? So let's hear it.
American strikes on Iran with reciprocal attacks focused on other countries across the region. But this isn't an all-out war. So far, it looks more like a structured campaign. Strikes mostly happening at night, largely focused on military infrastructure. The risk of escalation is still very high, though. So here are 5 things that could see this conflict spread into a much wider war. Number 1, a sharp increase in American casualties.
Listen, that was the cause of the 9th strike. And then Trump vowed to make Iran pay for those soldiers. Okay? So
if Iranian attacks killed large numbers of US personnel, the pressure on the White House to respond forcibly would grow very fast. Number 2, a return to direct war between Iran and Israel, regardless of who fires the first.
I'm going to tell you right now, that is coming. That's coming. They talked about it. You guys know I like to get all sides of the story. So I have about maybe 7 minutes or less of how Iran feels and what they had to say. So that's coming up next.
Shot or the first missile. That could transform a US-Iran confrontation into a wider regional conflict. Number 3, an attack that causes mass civilian casualties or destroys infrastructure that's crucial to people's daily life. Public anger rises, governments feel compelled to respond, and diplomacy can then become almost impossible. Number 4, if America and Israel conclude that Iran's nuclear weapons program is still active and moving closer to a weapon, well, that was one of the central reasons that was given for starting the war back in February. And the two countries would surely find it very hard to ignore evidence of continued progress. And finally, the economic shock. If fighting paralyzes the Strait of Hormuz and
Listen, we are on our way there. I may have missed an hour and a half of what's going on preparing for this live stream. You guys know I try to get everything down to the last minute over here. So we're headed in this direction.
oil prices go above $100 a barrel and then stay there, the pressure on the global economy and on President Trump domestically could become almost impossible to sustain. Of course, there is another option, a new ceasefire and a return to negotiations, but there's so little trust and the rhetoric is so inflamed, it's very hard to see the diplomatic space that's needed for that opening up anytime soon.
Now listen, this is Energy Secretary Wright, okay, on the length of the war. And I want to show you guys, you know, he still has support. People that's backing him. Take a listen. Hold on.
You were on the show back in March, and I want to play something of what you said about how long this war would last.
I think that this conflict will certainly come to the end in the next few weeks. Could be sooner than that.
So you said it would certainly come to an end within a few weeks. We are now nearly 5 months into this war. How does it end? When does it end?
Now let me stop you. Remember, when they signed the MOU, he was one of them. There was a bunch of them. They were so upset. They put so much pressure on him. They never wanted Trump to stop. They never wanted that ceasefire that was put in place, that was extended. We had more time of ceasefire than we did wartime. So let's hear him. But they're still supporters.
Well, the plan, we needed 4 to 6 weeks for military actions. They went for 5.5 weeks. We did a pause to try to get an agreement with the Iranian people to allow oil to flow without them attacking it. They've proven unwilling to do that, and we've pivoted. Now what we're doing is assuring that oil and gas and other products can flow through the Strait of Hormuz with or without Iranian cooperation. And we've continued to degrade their offensive military capabilities.
Here's the thing. We did that supposedly last year in June. Okay? Next thing you know, here we are. February, beginning of March, we goes back to war. We've obliterated. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. This is gone. That is gone. Somehow, some way, Iran just keep coming up with missiles, drones. So let's listen.
The president is always looking for the diplomatic off-ramp. President Trump wants to end it with a peaceful agreement with Iran.
And here's the deal. I don't care how many times they bomb them. They will always be able to cause havoc in the straits. The straits from here on out will be considered dangerous, and I believe that they will have and maintain some type of control over it. That's what I believe.
But it takes two parties to do that. If they're ready to do that, that's the way it'll end. If not, we will continue to assure flow of traffic through the strait without Iran's cooperation.
What will the Iranians do? Well, what would...
Now let's take a look at this. Listen. So now that Trump has started this bombing campaign, Iran has strategized to strike again any country that has assisted the U.S. With any type of bases, any type of assistance, that they will retaliate. Okay. Some thinking even, again, striking Israel directly. So what you guys think? Should we pull out? I'm thinking now is better, the best time to do it. Because if we're running out of munition, I mean, it's just time. It's time. But let's take a listen.
What would you do? I would fight back with everything at my disposal. And I would punish, absolutely annihilate everything and anyone who stands with us. So if you're living in Kuwait or Bahrain or Qatar or the United Arab Emirates, or for that matter, even Saudi Arabia, I would get ready. Because if you think you're going to escape the consequences of Trump's war and Israel's demand for Iran's destruction, you will not. And the elites that
Listen, they are all going through it now. They've been evacuating people out of Jordan. Like, yeah, I think they know now. And it's, again, we can't protect them all. This is crazy.
are ruling in those countries will be swept out of power. They've already reached out to Jordan, and I am sure that they have thousands of weapons and missiles remaining that they will ultimately use against Israel. And there's not a great deal we can do. We cannot shut that down. And we've talked about this before. Our technology, as Ted Postal and others have pointed out, has not reached the point where we can reliably protect any of these places. The smart move, the intelligent move, is to recognize the limits of our power, to recognize the futility.
That part, and we're getting very limited. Very.
And say, that's enough, no more. We wish you well, Israel, but we cannot go on with this campaign. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Do you?
I don't know. What you guys think? What you guys think? All right, guys. They went in, joint effort going into this conflict, and some believe that it's Israel first. We've all heard people here feel some type of way that we're in this conflict, and you hear those comments, Israel first. Okay? Let's get into this next clip.
Well, I think the whole war has been a joint collaboration between the two. There was an effort to, in fact, merge the military of the U.S. with Israel and put some portions of it under Israeli control.
Listen, they are merging our militaries. You guys, we talked about the bill that they just passed. And I'll get the name of it in a minute. But it's like they're integrating our militaries. Okay?
This is what the Trump administration has been doing. Fortunately, there was opposition in Congress. People in the U.S. are turning.
And I'll have to get it. We went over this the last live stream. Not the last one, but the one before that. Remember, the Dems shot it down. And then the next day, it was on a Thursday, they shot it down. And then Friday, it somehow, some way got through. Okay? It was some type of provisions, and it was a lot. But I'll get it before this live stream is over, the name of it.
Against Israel every day, more and more. Israel is now has a negative, most Americans have a negative point of view about Israel. So all of these things are difficult in this moment. In a few months in November, there will be elections to determine control of Congress. And if the U.S. becomes more involved in this war, if they try to actually send in troops, if there are more U.S. casualties, then that means the Republican Party is going to lose control of.
I believe that because there are more against this than they are in favor. And I'm telling you, I believe based off of this, what's going on right now, that a lot of parents that have children family members in the military, they will make a choice right then and there. Okay. I don't think and Trump spoke what he said, it was painful when he said that these soldiers fought so that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, knowing that this was a war of choice. I thought it was disgraceful. I'm gonna be honest.
Of Congress. So I don't think the Trump administration quite knows what to do. The attacks in Kurdistan, for example, it was Trump who bragged about allies among the Kurds. And so.
Yes, he bragged about the Kurds. Guess what? Iran attacked them to weaken them. So we'll get into that later. Yes, he bragged about the Kurds. Iran got them. They got them. I'm telling you, these guys is playing chess, not checkers. They need to regroup and try to come up with some type of strategy, the U.S., because this is not it. But let's go.
Iran targeted there, as they've been doing, targeting U.S. facilities and targeting those countries that have been allied with the U.S., which increases the dangers to the U.S. because these inevitably people in these countries are going to begin to or will now realize that the U.S. presence is not a benefit to them.
And that's the part. Listen, guys. That's another thing. Since the 80s, we have made our presence over there in the Gulf, countries. Listen, they feel as though is that we have too much presence as far as, 16 bases in the beginning was destroyed. We are now well over or close to 30 bases that was hit over there. That's too many. But we'll get into that too. I have a piece on that. Okay.
The U.S. is not there to protect them. The U.S. is there to protect Israel, and its presence now creates dangers for them. So it's unclear.
Remember my last live stream at the airport where we were storing things. Israel had an order to put us out. Benjamin Netanyahu got the order flipped. Okay, so it's like, yeah, they're like, listen, we want you guys gone because now we are targets. Okay.
With this erratic administration, what the next decisions will be. But as from the very beginning, everything that has happened is the complete responsibility of the United States.
But what did I say the other day? I said, listen, Trump is taking a gamble, and I hope it pays off. This is a gamble. Guys. All right, let's go.
That is achievable.
Now I'm going to go into Iran. You know how I do it, guys. I always look at all sides, okay? So this is Iran's perspective. This is how they feel. Let's go. Please support the channel. You can via Cash App, Super Chat, Super Sticker, and this is on the YouTube side. And on Rumble, you can actually send me a rant, or either Bitcoin or Cash App. Okay, the Great Spills the Tea. That's the Cash App. Thank you. Please subscribe to the channel and make sure you can support the channel just by clicking the like. Hit the like. Please, and thank you. All right, let's go, y'all.
Things like enrichment, things like ballistic missiles, things like proxy forces in the region. I know that the United States has talked about wanting to negotiate about that as well. Is that completely?
And I want y'all to pay attention to what Harachi has to say. I hope I pronounced this name right. But he's saying that instead of basically talking about what's difficult or what's not happening, let's talk about the possibilities of what can or what we can get through at this point, some things that we can get settled now. So let's take a listen.
Out of the question for you, or is that something you could at least talk about?
As I said, President Trump said no nuclear weapons, and we fully agree with that. And we can negotiate on our nuclear program to ensure that there is no nuclear weapons, to ensure that it is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever. That could be a very good deal. Of course, in return, we expect sanction lifting. So that deal is possible. Let's do not talk about impossible things. Let's focus on something which is possible and do not lose the opportunity to...
Listen, they've missed many opportunities, many.
Achieve a fair and equitable deal to ensure no nuclear weapons. That, as I said, and I repeat, that is achievable, even in a short period of time. Of course, that is the purpose.
What's Iran looking to get out of it otherwise?
And you want to know how I know it's achievable in a short period of time? Because the deal that was in place, and guys, I'm going to keep saying it. The deal that was in place was working. Was it the best? No, but it was working. Israel's intelligence thought so, and so did the U.S. Obama was able to get 95% of the enriched uranium out of the country, and he allowed them to have one small program, which inspectors, can go and inspect to see exactly what they were doing. When Trump tore that up and didn't put anything in place, this is the reason why we are here now. Okay? You never tear up a deal. That's like someone tearing up the lease to a property and not putting something in place. So, guys, this is why we're in this position. It is what it is.
This is the purpose of negotiation for us. First, of course, we want our right to be, respected. And secondly, sanctions be lifted. Sanctions are imposed because there are concerns that our program may go for weapons. As far as we are concerned, this is not the case. But we are ready to build confidence on our nuclear program. And of course, in return, we expect sanction lifting. And I am telling...
Okay, hold on. This is, are we prepared for war? And he basically says that they are. Okay, they're ready for it. Listen, they are basically preparing themselves for a ground operation. They feel like the U.S. will eventually put boots on the ground. Do I think it can come to that? Absolutely. Absolutely.
That with 100% confidence, our armed forces are ready and prepared, even more than the previous war. Our missiles were tested in a real war last time, and we were able to, understand their problems, their weak points, and their strengths. So we learned many lessons from those 12 days.
And this is where I'm at with that. Ground wars, boots on the ground. There's going to be so many casualties. This is where when I say Trump is taking a gamble. I'm telling you, this is a big gamble.
Of war. And I think we are now very well prepared.
I declare it is over.
Now, this is the IRGC talking. They said it's a done deal. There's no more talking. That's over. Okay? Let's go.
Both negotiation and war are over. If in the next 2 or 3 days the Americans continue the war, we will enter a phase of complete offense and destruction. Should they try to seize any part of our territory, we might enter that same phase of offense.
Now, guys, he said this about 48 hours ago. I'm telling y'all right now, they're into that phase. They're into that offensive phase right now. All right, let's go.
Abandoning our defensive posture, abandoning our deterrence, and reciprocal measures.
Now, we're going to get into what he had to say as far as the U.S. bribing or threatening. You know, Trump throws a lot of threats out there. You can neither threaten us nor bribe us. In the negotiations before the 12-day war, they had come to bribe. Not to bribe me, to bribe the Islamic Republic. Saying we will do this and that. This was a good interview. I only got 3 small pieces because I didn't want to have to keep reading off to you guys. And I wish I had a way. I didn't want to use AI because I don't want nothing to happen to my videos. They are taking a lot of videos out behind AI. So I have to read it to you guys. It might be painful for some, but it was a good interview. And if I could have, because I have apps that will do that, but I just don't want to take the chance. I just got my channel back, so I'm trying to be super careful. We will build this and that. This is what they're saying that the U.S. was saying. I told them there that our enrichment is not for sale. This is something the people of Iran for 20 years have endured sanctions for. Scientists have shed blood for. Can we sell it? You say you'll build a power plant for me. This is what they're saying in between these talks. If you do this and you give up the enriched uranium, we'll give you this. What are you building? I said there, no bribes and no threats. You have to threaten someone who is afraid. And they said, bottom line, they're not afraid. What works very well for us was that it sent a very important message to the world. Despite the war and despite all of this, no change has occurred nor will occur in the policies, principles, and ideas of the Islamic Republic. All the people and ministers we meet, friends and enemies, they say Iran emerged stronger from this war. This is their own expressions. Iran astonished the world. Iran showed its real power. They say, we just realized that your atomic bomb is the Strait of Hormuz, and they ain't never lied. This is why they are not willing to give up that card. Last week, they tried to put this deal on the table saying that, okay, you have your side and Oman will have their side. They said, that's giving up control because guess what? They're going to go around us and go on the Oman side. We have been looking for something else until now. The world has realized that Iran is strong. This might actually have been our greatest victory. Look, they played this card and they will always play this card. Like always.
بزرگترین پیروزی ما بود. ولی اون روزا البته
Now listen, guys. He said, and I brought this piece, that there was a security breach when the supreme leader was unalived. Okay? Listen, there's right after this, he talks about where they have their meetings at in tunnels. And the reason why I brought this is because I said, how are they rebuilding so fast? How are they stocking up so fast with these missiles? I believe that they have dug some of those tunnels where we believe the enriched uranium may be. I don't believe that it's where it's supposed to be. I'm sorry. I just don't. But let's get into it. But he says back then, almost every building you enter has some kind of loft meeting going on. What's important in my view is that they knew. So he's trying to say they knew, but it was a miscalculation. When they bombed his place, about those meetings, that points to what may have been and probably still is a security vulnerability that the security agencies are now investigating. I believe this vulnerability isn't limited to one infiltration. They're gathering intelligence. Sometimes it also affects the decision-making process. And even worse, it influences our psychological environment. He said, I'll leave it at that. I think they knew. The supreme leader was in his office every morning, making him an accessible target. He had a personal principle of not going to a bunker. They realized the commander was being held next door. He's telling how this all went down. Or perhaps it's moving too fast. Dang it. I don't know what the last sentence was. That's why they chose. But he's basically saying that they knew. Now he says that they have meetings in these tunnels. So let's just take a listen. I'm surprised he told all of this, and then we'll get back into it. Let me say that during these 40 days, neither I nor my deputies nor any of my colleagues left the foreign ministry building. Everyone moved to other places, to the other buildings. Of course, we are not in our offices, but we had a designated some location within the foreign ministry compound. But ultimately, there was no safe place. He said something before that and went too fast. I'm sorry, guys. Other than a tunnel, there was no safe place. So that's where they go to have these meetings. Tunnels. So y'all think that they didn't dig up those tunnels? Okay. Tunnels had their own problems too. At this point, protection no longer really means anything.
یه حفاظت معنایی نداره.
نه.
بنده خدا.
Those poor protection officers.
بچه‌های محافظ. یعنی
What can they do when a missile comes in? It strikes.
چیکار کنن؟ موشک دیگه میاد میزنه دیگه.
ابتکارات مختلف.
They came up with various measures.
که داشتن چون همین هم بالاخره.
Because ultimately, you have to find ways to at least reduce the level of risk.
با یه ابتکاراتی میشه ذریع بشه حداقل آورد پایین. هیچ مسئولی.
No official had a mobile phone anymore.
دیگه گوشی تلفن نداشت. ولی من متاسفم.
But unfortunately, I couldn't put mine aside.
نمیتونستم گوشی تلفنی کنار بگذارم چون همه تماس.
Because I had to conduct all of my foreign calls with foreign ministers.
خارجیم با وزرای خارجه مرتب مصاحبه.
The constant interviews.
تماس‌ها
and calls and contacts with our own embassies. I had to do everything.
سفارتخونه‌های خودمون همه رو مجبور بودم انجام بده.
Didn't you go into a tunnel? Now he's talking about the beginning of this war. Okay, this is what he's talking about.
بگم که حالا راجع به تونل
I don't want to say anything about the tunnels right now. That probably saved his life because, guys, if you can remember, months ago, I brought out that Israel had a list. Okay? He was on that list. That was their plan, was to unalive their leaders, regime change. And remember, I told y'all months ago, President Trump made a call, told Benjamin Netanyahu, slow down, because we won't have anybody to negotiate with. I told you guys that months ago. It started trending and it came out about a week ago. Last week we talked about this in my live stream, but I told you guys months ago. Everyone knows about the tunnels. Do you want me to tell you where they are too? Everyone knows about the tunnel. And he says it's in Akram and Porzuzi neighborhood. And another is in Upper Darban. They even hit that one too. So the U.S. It sounds like the U.S. knew where some of these tunnels were. No, there are many other places that you don't know about. I'm saying that commanders frequently travel through these two tunnels. He said I went once or twice for a meeting, but we ourselves were not in a tunnel.
یکی دو بار برای جلسات رفتن ولی نه خود ما تو تونل نبودیم. تونل زیاده این هم حالش مد.
There are many tunnels, just so you know, anyway.
در جریان. حالا چون ممکنه یه بار دیگه جنگ.
The war may start again, so let's save these things for then.
میشه بذار اینا نگه داریم برای اون موقع. ولی شیوه های ابتکاری زیاد.
But there are many innovative methods.
یاد بود متاسفانه نمیشد اصلا همه رو دعوت کرد.
I didn't get that.
لازم امنیتی خطرناک.
It was dangerous from a security standpoint.
بود.
تونل امنه.
The tunnel is safe. Nothing happens to a tunnel. We're almost done, guys.
تونل چیزی نمیشه دعوت کردن بری.
If they invite you to go, go. Nothing happens to a tunnel.
تونل چیزی نمیشه. یعنی زورشون به تونل نمیرسه.
They can't hit it. I'm going to be honest with you. I believe that some of them may.
جلوی در رو میزنن.
They strike the entrance a little. And I know that they fill the place with oxygen cylinders. So when they go in those tunnels, they have oxygen cylinders.
اکسیژن رو پر کردن. یعنی من خبر دارم.
He said, I know about it. Nothing happens inside the
اتفاق
tunnel.
نمیفته تونل.
خب برای خودشون.
They did it for themselves.
نه اینطور نبود که همه بتونن
It wasn't the case that everyone could go.
برن. تونلا بالاخره
The tunnels had their own rules and restrictions.
خدا
شرطتون رو میدید چیه که
Once you go in, you have to stay for several days.
برید دیگه باید مثلا چند روز بمونید. نمیتونه سریع
You can't quickly go in and come back out.
برید و بیاید. شما نمیتونید.
You couldn't go because you had work to do outside.
چون کار دارید بیرون.
آره.
All right, that's it. I thought that was interesting. I brought it to you guys, but he did say that it was a miscalculation when the supreme leader was unalived. Okay, they knew where he was in that office all the time. All right, let's go.
Now, the Americans are attacking us from the air and then fleeing, and we do not have access to them. We know how to access the Americans. If they come, it will be good and appropriate, because then our war will become land-based and manly.
That part, because their Air Force is gone, and that's, you know, how we're carrying out these attacks. We're dropping, you know, from the jets. We're dropping, okay? They want it to become a ground war.
In a land war, the Iranians are zealous. Iran will not allow its territory to be in the hands of anyone else, and the Americans will definitely cause many deaths.
Wait. You're saying you welcome? I'm hearing you say that you would almost welcome a U.S. invasion of Iran. Is that what you're saying?
Our answer is that if you want to enter Iran, it is no problem, but we will definitely fight you like men. We are not telling them to come. We are not looking to kill. But if someone invades our land and thinks that they can easily take Iran, they are mistaken. Iran is not a conquerable land, and American soldiers will definitely suffer a great calamity. And I do not know if they will be able to remove the bodies of American soldiers from the region. This decision is up to the Americans. Iran does not joke with anyone.
All right, let me stop this real quick. What's up? We beat you. I can't drop the link. I'm on Rumble streaming through YouTube. You would have to come to Rumble. So I can't even drop the link. I'm sorry. Sorry, bro. Shouts out to We Beat You.
When the United States speaks of diplomacy, what it means is coercion, intimidation, threats, and sanctions. As long as it remains in that framework and seeks to impose its demands on the Iranian nation, our response will, in turn, be to defend Iran's dignity and national sovereignty. Proposals have been put forward by mediators. They have been conveyed to us, and we have received them. But for now, allow me not to go into the details.
Now, this was, and I believe when they were trying to propose this second ceasefire, this 10-day, yeah, but they declined.
What I can confirm is that, in recent days, the diplomatic apparatus has remained active and that ideas have indeed been conveyed to us by several mediators.
I think it's fair to say there is a...
All right, guys. Now we're going to go into Kuwait. What they did as far as their water plant. This is considered a war crime, guys. That's just the bottom line. It is. Okay, let's go.
Great deal of concern throughout the GCC that targeted attack on Kuwait's power and water desalination plant has caused a great deal of concern, and it's having a big impact in Kuwait. The Ministry of Electricity there saying that they want people to try and conserve as much electricity as they can, particularly between the hours of 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. Something that's difficult to do. We are in the height of summer, and this region as a whole relies on air.
And this actual mission right here, this bombing, it happened after the U.S. struck in that bridge. They hit their bridge. So they then in turn hit Kuwait's water plant.
conditioning to keep cool. That attack by Iran was condemned by the Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council. He described that attack on that water desalination plant as highly dangerous in terms of escalation and a war crime. So I think you can see from those comments that they are really concerned about civilian infrastructure being targeted. It's not the first time we've seen such attacks. We've had attacks over the past 5 months on oil and gas facilities, on airports, on data centers. But this particular one on the water desalination plant has been significant because there are a finite number of those plants, and obviously people's water supplies will be affected if they are targeted relentlessly, as Iran seems to be doing at the moment.
What I will say is that
now we're going to get into what Marco Rubio said, and he basically said, listen, we're up for diplomacy, but you know what they're doing, it's a no-go. Okay. They claim that they would love diplomacy and that the president said, you know, he would try it.
the United States always remains open to a diplomatic solution. We've tried multiple times with Iran, and we'll continue to try. If that door opens, we'll be happy to see it open. But and they continue.
Here's the deal. He said they'll continue to try. Iran they don't want it anymore. They're okay with what's going on. If it was any other way, they would have agreed to this 10-day ceasefire.
Continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate, but their behavior is what we're responding to. And their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships, including tonight.
This is a far bigger job that we're doing. We were doing a little job of stopping them from having a certain capability. Now we're just ending it. So it's really not the.
So again, they claim that they're taking their ability away to be able to fire at any ships going through the strait.
The same thing. What we're doing now is we're ending any chance where they could have a nuclear missile. If you look at it, after a week and a half, not 4 weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks, we stopped them from probably, but I don't want to have the word probably.
Hey, this is breaking news. The U.S. Embassy in Jordan says that Jordanian officials have evacuated the international airport and seaport due to what they described as a credible threat. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department has issued a worldwide caution notice to all Americans traveling wherever they may be, as the situation with Iran remains tense. Follow for the latest updates.
So they basically warned Jordan. They're starting to evacuate at a lot of different places. They threatened, and now that the Houthis back in, we'll get into that again. They threatened Saudi Arabia. It's threats all around.
On Iran.
So we just got a casualty update from U.S. Central Command saying that now 3 service members were killed yesterday. And
so it went from 2 to 3, and now it's actually 4. But again, guys, you guys know how I do it. We start 24 to 48 hours prior to and work our way up to real time. So let's go.
A 4th missing. The remains, some remains have been located, but they have not yet been verified. So what Central Command just put out is that a service member in northern Iraq yesterday was killed during the controlled detonation of an unexploded Iranian one-way attack drone, adding that a second service member was wounded in that same detonation.
Well, let me say this. It is actually a total of 3. And then the one guy, there's one missing. Okay.
Nation. They said that they were able to identify they were able to locate unidentified remains at the strike location in Jordan earlier today. However, an examination process is ongoing to verify those remains. Now, yesterday, Iranian missiles struck a U.S. base in Jordan. Right out the gate, we heard 2 U.S. service members killed, 1 missing in action, and quite a few wounded. Those wounded are the ones we're keeping an eye on now, as it's not clear the status. Were these minor TBI type injuries, traumatic brain injury, where they'll be able to come back into the fight relatively quickly, or are they more significant? And as of right now, we don't have really any insight into that.
Well, we feel very badly, but you know, those.
Now, again, I told you guys that President Trump basically said he feels bad, but those soldiers were fighting so that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Let's take a listen.
Great people, those great patriots were out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran has been very, very badly damaged. They've lost everything almost militarily. They've got very little left. They've got some missiles. They've got some drones. They've got some manufacturing ability, not much. We control the Strait. They don't control anything. So we'll see what happens. But
listen, Diamond Gang, they literally was targeting ships today. Today.
We hit them very hard again tonight, and we did that in honor of the probably three. It's probably three as opposed to two great patriots.
And breaking news in the war.
So now we have another soldier unalived in Iraq. Both sides, the U.S. and Iran, saying the ceasefire is over. Iran targeted Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait. Okay? This is disastrous for all of our allies, okay?
With Iran, an American service member was killed in Iraq. This just a day after two others were killed in Iranian strikes in Jordan. The Department of Defense says the total number of Americans killed in the war is now 17. Both sides say the ceasefire is over. ABC's Marcus Moore reports.
The U.S. launching new strikes on Iran in retaliation for the drone and missile attack that killed two American service members and injured several others at a U.S. base in Jordan on Saturday. Video circulating online appears to show multiple projectiles and the moment the base was hit. President Trump reacting to the news, reportedly telling the New York Post, quote, "It's a shame, but in this case, they died because they don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon and don't want to see the Middle East blow up." CENTCOM announcing another U.S. service member was killed in northern Iraq Saturday during a controlled detonation of an unexploded ordnance from a downed Iranian drone. The administration saying this is a mission that will save millions of lives going forward.
The president's mission is...
Again, according to Iran, there's a lot more fatalities, okay? But CENTCOM is denying it.
Essential for peace in the Middle East and peace in the world, and that is to prevent Iran from achieving nuclear weapons and to degrade their ability to terrorize their neighbors.
The International Atomic Energy Agency says it's looking into reports of an attack on the construction site of a planned nuclear power plant in Iran, but U.S. Central Command has not commented on the alleged overnight strike. Iran retaliating for these latest U.S. strikes targeting its neighbors, including Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait. Jordan's army saying in a statement Sunday, 3 missiles launched from Iran fell in several locations in the country. Democratic Senator Mark Warner calling the, quote, war of choice a disaster.
It's been a disaster.
It's definitely a disaster because now you figure the Houthis is back in, and now the Islamic Resistance of Iraq is now threatening the U.S. that if they keep striking Iran, that they're going to attack. They're going to target U.S. soldiers. This is getting ugly.
Militarily, it has been a disaster in terms of how we're viewed around the world. It has been a disaster to our friends and the allies who question whether we will keep our promises.
President Trump now looking to expand the Russian sanctions bill, writing on his social media account, quote, Republicans should add Iran to the bill.
Hey, this is breaking news. American forces just started carrying out a 9th consecutive night of strikes on Iran with a focus on degrading their capabilities to target ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. Follow for the latest breaking news up.
Now, this was earlier today. Remember, before I came on a couple hours ago, they actually started their 10th round. So we're getting ready to get into the 10th round.
Updates on Iran.
The United States is continuing to strike Iran for a 9th straight day after 2 U.S. service members from Hawaii and Texas were killed in an Iranian air attack on a base in Jordan. A 3rd soldier was killed in northern Iraq during a controlled detonation of a downed Iranian drone.
Americans seem to forget the just sort of...
Now, remember, guys, I told you, we have built a large presence over there in the Middle East. since the 1980s, okay? Listen, it protects Israel. But some are saying it's too large of a presence. We don't need that. Again, in the beginning, they hit 16 U.S. bases. Then they struck a couple more during the ceasefire. That brought us to a total of 21. I've lost count. I'm pretty sure we are close to 30 bases or more. Okay? Let's listen.
Massive presence the United States has built militarily in the Middle East, and particularly surrounding the Persian Gulf, since the early 1980s. It's been a 50-year-long project marked and sort of punctuated by conflict against Iraq, an ongoing siege and sanctions regime against Iran, but all with the idea of creating a massive military footprint in order to secure American hegemonic and political economic interests, primarily energy, but also Israeli security and American-Israeli relations, as well as American relationships with the authoritarians across the region. So that footprint has been built steadily over time, and it's more or less a permanent presence. What Americans have probably not paid sufficient attention to is the massive vulnerability of all of these places and systems. There's a separate question of whether they're actually necessary or not. I don't believe that they are. I think Americans voted in the last election because they're tired of U.S. wars in the Middle East and elsewhere. But the reality is that there is an ongoing physical, significant commitment by the U.S. military to the region. So it's hardly surprising that in the course of war that American soldiers would come under fire and pay a price.
That part, and they are paying the price right now. I think the presence is too heavy and it's too much. All right, let's get into the IRGC.
Iran's Revolutionary Guards have announced a series of new operations across the region, claiming they have struck American military assets in Jordan. They targeted a command center in Syria and have taken action against shipping in the Strait of Hormuz.
And listen, guys, I told you, CENTCOM will deny. Iran will put it out there. They will even put out the imagery. Once they do that, then we come clean. I want y'all to listen to what they claim they did, okay? Allegedly they did.
The IRGC said they fired ballistic missiles at American military aircraft stationed at Aqaba Airport in Jordan. The targets included heavy transport aircraft and command and control planes. According to Iran's military, several of those aircraft suffered significant damage. The Revolutionary Guard said the attack was carried out in retaliation for Iranian soldiers killed earlier in the conflict. As the war rages, the U.S. military has confirmed the death of another American service member, while investigations continue into remains recovered after a previous attack on a U.S. position in Jordan. According to the U.S. military, 17 American service members have been killed since the conflict began, with more than 420 others wounded. President Donald Trump has...
They are saying, and the New York Times put it out there today, that President Trump and Hegseth are keeping those numbers, away from us. They claim that it's way more.
Also reacted to the attack. At the same time, the U.S. has confirmed a 9th straight night of military strikes inside Iran. U.S. says the operations are designed to reduce Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in one of the world's most important energy corridors. The American military also says it has taken steps to enforce its naval blockade of Iranian ports. This includes redirecting commercial ships and disabling another vessel to ensure compliance.
This is breaking news. Overnight, the United States conducted a 9th consecutive night of strikes against Iran, targeting a variety of positions there. The Iranians have been responding with missile and drone attacks against Gulf countries. Yesterday, they fired missiles at the southern Jordanian city of Aqaba, triggering Israeli air defense systems to launch interceptors to take down some of the incoming Iranian missile debris. This also comes as we are learning that a 4th U.S. service member was killed in northern Iraq during an effort to deal with an unexploded ordnance, an Iranian drone in that part of the country. Additionally, U.S. forces have identified the remains of a 3rd soldier who was killed on Friday in Jordan during that Iranian missile attack.
So, Diamond Gang, right now we are at 4, and we still have some still missing.
That killed 2 additional soldiers. So 4 U.S. soldiers confirmed killed over the weekend, 3 in Jordan from that missile attack on Friday, and an additional soldier in northern Iraq. We are tracking developments out of the region.
I'm sorry, they said 4 injured. Sorry, 4. Outside of the 4, there were 3. Okay, first there were 2 at that location in Jordan. 2, and then they said 1 was missing, and there were 4 injured. Okay, so then they identified, they found the 3rd one. That's a total of 3, and they, and 4 injured. And then this guy here in northern Iraq.
To see what comes next in the direct conflict between the United States and Iran.
The soldiers have just been identified as 19-year-old Isabella Gonzalez of Carrollton, Texas, just 19 years old. 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler James Freehan, he's from Hawaii, both assigned to Army Air Missile Defense Command. An investigation is underway as the fighting continues. For the 9th straight night, U.S. forces unleashed wave after wave of airstrikes against Iran, extending its reach and scope of targets beyond the Strait of Hormuz, according to U.S. Central.
Next step after this, again, Diamond Gang, the Houthis has now jumped in. They have a blockade against Saudi Arabia, and I got them actually announcing it.
Command. But Washington's vow to swiftly punish Iran for the deaths of U.S. service members has this region bracing for much more to come. U.S. officials tell CBS News a 3rd U.S. soldier was killed in northern Iraq during a controlled detonation of an Iranian drone, bringing the total number of U.S. troops killed in action to 17 since the war began. Footage of the precision ballistic missile attack on the U.S. airbase in Jordan suggests it came with little or no warning. Shocked military personnel scrambled.
Remember, guys, they did an ambush. They attacked right before we were planning to attack. They just got us first.
To get to shelters. The missile and drone barrage that killed 2 service members, with an additional one still listed as missing, was the 2nd time in 2 days Iran managed to launch a direct hit on that base. Overall, 4 Iranian attacks in 5 days targeting U.S. forces in Jordan has left dozens wounded. President Trump paid tribute to the fallen.
Well, we feel very badly, but those great people, those great patriots are out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
But the recent U.S. airstrikes have been focused on reopening the Strait of Hormuz, not dismantling Iran's nuclear program.
And right now, this is what this is all about, the Straits. That MOU was way too vague.
The U.S. military has been sending more assets like aerial refuelers to the region, and the deaths of the first U.S. troops in months has only furthered fears the U.S. military response is about to go to the next level. Now, with Jordan a new front line on this fight, the Jordanian Foreign Ministry has summoned Iran's envoy in order to send a clear message demanding an immediate halt to all attacks, saying the safety of its citizens is a red line that cannot be crossed.
All right, there she goes again. Isabella Gonzalez, 19 years old. She was just a private. Lieutenant Tyler James Freehan, 25 years old, from Hawaii. This is so devastating.
The U.S. launched another wave of airstrikes in Iran over the weekend after multiple American service members were killed following Iranian missile and drone attacks. Iran claims one of the targets hit by the U.S. was a nuclear power plant that had been under construction, though as of Sunday evening, the U.S. hadn't confirmed that detail. Central Command says the strikes targeted Iranian coastal surveillance site, air defenses, missile storage facilities, drone capabilities, and other military targets used to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. For more on
And again, that That was the task, was to eliminate their ability to be able to fire at ships moving through the straits.
President Trump's reaction to Iran's attacks and Iran's anger over the retaliation. Let's bring in the New York Post Deputy Managing Editor, Michael Zinni.
We have seen the conflict really escalate over this weekend. First, we saw 2 U.S. Service members killed and one more missing. We believe that remains have been found that could be this service member in Jordan, which is, and this was from Iranian strikes all the way on the far side of Iraq into the U.S. ally Jordan. As a result of that, the U.S. struck back and reportedly hit an under construction Iranian nuclear power plant. The Iranians vociferously complained about this. They said it was a dangerous strike. Then what was following on that is Kuwait, which is another strong U.S. ally, reported attacks on a desalination plant, which is really...
That was that water plant I showed y'all.
Really critical to supplying water in the region as well as energy infrastructure. There was also another U.S. service member killed, apparently trying to disarm a shot down Iranian weapon in Iraq. So all of this really did escalate over the weekend, and we saw the range of the conflict really seem to expand. We will see what...
Bingo, that's the key word, and that's why I brought this clip. Expand. This is what Iran wants right now, to get other countries involved.
Comes further from this. President Trump has repeatedly said that Iran, the strikes on Iran would escalate if the peace agreement, if they did not return to the Memorandum of Understanding and to peace negotiations.
Hey, this is breaking news. The Houthis in Yemen have entered the picture in the Middle East.
This right here, don't be surprised if we wake up and gas is $10 a gallon. Saudi Arabia is not going to be able to get none of their oil out. I told y'all this was going to happen. I told y'all months ago. Let's go.
Saying that they are declaring a maritime embargo of Saudi Arabia. This is expected to put more pressure on oil markets. Follow for the latest breaking news updates on the Middle East.
This is the Yemen Houthis declaring naval blockade on Saudi Arabia. I told y'all months ago this was going to happen. And believe me when I say this, eventually Iran is going to strike Israel directly.
حصاره الظالم والغاشم على شعبنا العزيز لما يقارب 12 عاما من نهب للثروات وحصار شامل على الموانئ والمطارات برا وبحرا وجوا بما فاقم معاناة شعبنا العظيم حتى وصل الحال إلى مستوى لا يطاق بدون أي حق.
And now that the Islamic Resistance of Iraq is threatening to target troops, there's going to be so many sidebar fights going on.
أو مبرر له في ذلك وهذا ما لا يمكن القبول به أو السكوت عليه. تعلن القوات المسلحة اليمنية حظر الملاحة البحرية على العدو السعودي المجرم وفق معادلة الحصار بالحصار وسيدخل حيز التنفيذ.
And he's basically saying the blockade will be immediately.
من لحظة إعلان هذا البيان.
Now this was President Trump. Every time Iran unalives an American soldier, they will pay for that unalivement many times over. Okay? This is what sparked the 10th round.
This is breaking news. Right now, sirens are sounding in Bahrain and Kuwait amid incoming Iranian missile and drone attacks. Many Gulf countries, including the UAE and Saudi Arabia, along with countries like Jordan, have taken incoming Iranian fire in recent days as the United
Did y'all hear that? Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan.
States continues to strike Iran. There are regional reports that indicate mediators have proposed a 10-day ceasefire to stop the escalating tension across the region. But remember when we spoke with President Trump last week.
And again, the IRGC turned it down. That's it. That's all. But let's take a listen to what he said.
At the White House, he said that attacks against Iran will escalate. He will start to strike power plants and bridges if the Iranians are unwilling to come back to the negotiating table. We'll have more updates to follow.
So again, they both threatening war crimes against each other.
Throughout the day on Fox News. Be sure to tune in for more.
Iran is now claiming to have struck 20 hangars housing U.S. troops in Jordan, allegedly taking the lives of dozens of soldiers. At the same time,
This is what they are claiming. CENTCOM is denying it. Again, the Wall Street Journal said that President Trump and Pete Hegseth is not putting the truth out there.
The report revealed the Pentagon did not publicly disclose that dozens of U.S. troops were injured and several military helicopters were damaged during renewed fighting last week. U.S. officials defended this by saying CENTCOM is not legally required to publish immediate casualty numbers. Iran is also claiming to have launched missiles that destroyed 20 hangars housing U.S. forces at a strategic eastern Jordan base. The IRGC is saying this strike killed dozens of U.S. service members. However, U.S. officials
Jordan caught something vicious. Those strikes, I'm telling you guys, we're almost done.
Confirmed the strike did occur, killing 2 Army soldiers and leaving at least another one missing, but strongly dispute the vast scale of damage and casualties claimed by Tehran. At the same time, Qatar tried to produce a temporary 10-day ceasefire proposal where the U.S. and Iran would stop fighting, but a senior Iranian negotiator flatly rejected the deal on social media, saying don't even think about it. Iran has formally exited the MOU with the U.S., saying they're never going to start negotiations with us under any circumstances.
Now, this is Rubio again. He's just speaking as far as the U.S. strikes, talks.
Are we back at square one? What is the objective of these latest strikes?
I think CENTCOM has laid it out exactly what the objectives are. The only reason why the U.S. is conducting strikes is against assets of Iran that are being used to attack global commercial shipping. The Straits of Hormuz are...
And once again, they did it again today. They were striking at ships today again.
International waterway, and they continue to launch against ships in that international waterway. Other countries should join us in this effort. The United States is involved not just in protecting those ships, but in targeting the places that they use to launch these missiles and drones. So that's what you're seeing. That's what the objective of this mission, and that's what it continues to be. And we continue on a daily basis very successfully to degrade Iran's ability to target ships. You hear about the ships that have been struck. You don't hear about the ones that have been defended and the ones they haven't been able to launch against. But as long as Iran insists on controlling an international waterway, we're going to have to respond to that.
Will you be a diplomatic off-ramp still? Do you believe that?
I think we're always open to diplomacy. It has to be real. It has to be a deal that they're willing to live by. Look, Iran a week ago was supposed to put out a statement saying that the Straits of Hormuz would be open, that they would no longer attack shipping. And instead of doing that, they attacked 3 ships. I think that was last Friday or Saturday.
Now, under the MOU, there were no specific language in regards to that, and I've never heard them say that.
So, I mean, their behavior has to change in order for ours to change.
What?
Well, they're not complying with it. I mean, the straits are supposed to be open, free of toll, free of attack, free of all the things they're doing against these ships.
There you have it. Okay, it's supposed to be free of toll. That was in there. That was in the MOU. Nothing about attacks was in that MOU. Okay, just like there was supposed to be a full withdrawal out of Lebanon. Both sides are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So they can't have an MOU that's alive if they're violating the terms of it. What I will say is that the United States always remains open to a diplomatic solution. We've tried multiple times with Iran, and we'll continue to try. If that door opens, we'll be happy to see it open. But and they continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate. but their behavior is what we're responding to.
Again, I seen no signals. The IRGC is standing 10 toes down. They don't want it.
When their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships, including tonight.
What recent signals have you heard from the Iranians that they wanted it?
Directly and through multiple channels to other countries as well. They continue to send signals that way. But look, I also think it's pretty growing apparent that even within their own system, there's a growing split. I think maybe some of your outlets have documented this. Between those that understand that their economy is in shambles and they need to do something, or they're going to be in a lot of trouble very soon, economically, domestically. And
listen, okay, from what I recall, and we discussed this, for those couple of weeks when the Strait was open, they made enough money that they can potentially hold off until December. Okay? But let's go.
Others who are very militant in their view of life and in their view of the world and continue to launch missiles. So they'll have to work out that split internally. We're going to continue to respond. If the door opens to diplomacy, if the guys that want to do something productive for Iran win and take control of that system or take control of the negotiations, that'll be a very positive development. That's not where we are tonight, unfortunately.
So President Trump says that Iran is going to pay for killing U.S. service members over the course of the weekend, but this time might be a little bit different as we start to ramp up operations. President Trump said, quote, "Every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over. This directive has been passed on to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, and every leader in the military." But there's some new dynamics to this. We've got additional parties entering the fight. The Houthis have now listed a blockade.
Again, additional parties. This is about to get very complicated. And because I couldn't wait to tell y'all, I told you guys in the beginning.
Or put in place a blockade against Saudi Arabia. The Iranian-backed Shiite militias across Iraq and Syria last night announced that if U.S. strikes continue, they're going to start targeting U.S. bases. And the Washington Post earlier today put out an article citing an anonymous official, so take this with a grain of salt, that the U.S. is planning for a wider war. But the official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, cautioned that the expansion of U.S. operations will be limited by dwindling stockpiles of air defense and long-range munitions and constraints on the ability to surge more troops and aircraft into the area because of...
Boom. So we talked about that munitions, okay? Congress is sitting with trillions of dollars that Trump was asking for and has not been granted. We know that prior to the ceasefire, our munitions was what I believe under 50%. So it's like, what are we doing? I told you guys, if we were to get into any other conflict with another country, we would not be okay. I said this months ago. Again, they will deny until they're forced to tell the truth. But let's go.
Battle damage. He said, quote, "We do not have enough," talking about interceptors and long-range munitions, to safely sustain operations. Again, we've got to take that with a grain of salt for a couple different reasons. One, anonymous official. But two, the question about munition stockpiles is loaded at baseline. So there's just so many different ways that you can approach that. We have certainly fewer today than when we started the war. Yes. But that's a different question than do we have
a lot fewer. I broke it down. List by list, tomahawk by tomahawk, a lot less. But let's go.
Enough to sustain operations with Iran? We don't know because all of that information is classified. So we don't know if we have enough to maintain that fight. On top of that, do we have enough to maintain that fight plus a contingency with China or a contingency with North Korea or Russia? There's a lot of different numbers you could look at to say, we're short, or we have enough. It would just require some reallocation. Either way, it does look like the U.S. is planning on ramping up operations. We've seen a significant flow of U.S. assets to the region over the last 24 to 48 hours, and additional parties likely stepping into this fight between the Houthis and the Shiite militias across Iraq and Syria. So Iran is striking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthis have put in force a blockade against Saudi Arabia, and the Islamic Resistance of Iraq says they will begin attacking U.S. troops in the region if we continue strikes against Iran, which...
So guys, you see what I was talking about in the beginning of this live stream. And we talked about this. Iran, this is what their game plan was. This is where we hit it, where multiple groups are getting into this war. So do you guys believe that we are headed to WW3 or what?
We're going to. Like, all indications are not just a continuation, but an escalation of U.S. strikes. A few hours ago, the IRGC put out some pictures and videos saying, quote, last night, 2 oil tankers that were acting illegally and intended to enter and exit a dangerous and accident-prone southern route of the Strait of Hormuz exploded and were prevented from moving. As long as America's evil actions continue in the region, this route will not be safe for the passage of chemical fertilizers or even a single cubic meter of oil and gas. On top of
So they are supposed to be degrading their capabilities. And what were they doing today? Shooting at ships.
that, the Houthis this morning announced a blockade of Saudi Arabia, saying that it's effective immediately. Now we have.
And that blockade with Saudi Arabia, I'm telling you, don't be surprised if you wake up and the gas is $10 a gallon. They just put the economy globally in a chokehold. A chokehold.
Not seen any targeting by the Houthis of commercial shipping in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Red Sea, or the Gulf of Aden, but that is a wild card, to say the least. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively shut down now, I mean, there's really nothing moving through. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is kind of the lifeline, and if the Houthis decide to shut that down, we're going to see a pretty significant jump in what that means for the world economy, to say the least. Finally, we have the Islamic Resistance of Iraq. This is a group of Iranian-backed Shiite militias across Iraq and Syria that really sat out the first phase of the fighting. Last night, they issued a warning saying, quote, the Islamic Resistance reiterates and emphasizes that it will directly join the campaign against the American enemy if it continues to expand its aggression against the Islamic Republic, and that it will act with strength and determination against all American interests and bases in the country and the region. Again, they sat out the first phase of fighting, the most recent, since February, between the United States and Iran.
I'm surprised that the Houthis got back in it because, again, we went over this the last live stream, because most of Iran's ships is sunken below the sea. They had no way to take care of the Houthis, okay? No way. They provided them with intelligence and other things. So I'm surprised they got back in it. They're not strong at all.
That would be challenging because all of a sudden our bases there would be dealing with, these guys have a fair amount of one-way attack drones and capabilities to at the very least harass U.S. forces in the region. So for now, just a threat. We'll see if they follow through. But it is notable that we're hearing multiple proxy groups of Iran kind of speak up, saying they're ready to enter the fray all about the same time.
Breaking news, Yemen's armed forces just declared a full maritime embargo on Saudi Arabia, effective immediately. They say eye for an eye, blockade for blockade. They say Saudi's been choking Yemen for 12 years, and after the hit on Sana'a airport last week, they are shutting Saudi shipping through Bab el-Mandeb. This drops right in the middle of the U.S.-Iran war. U.S. started its 10th straight night of strikes on Iran, trying to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is hitting back hard. The IRGC claims they destroyed 20 hangars at the U.S. base in Jordan. They hit C-17s and P-8s.
And remember, CENTCOM is denying this. So just hold tight. I'm pretty sure I'll bring you guys what really happened. Give me a day or two.
Killed dozens of American troops and openly thanked the people and military of Jordan for the intelligence. Nearly 100 U.S. service members injured this month. And here's the part that should scare people. U.S. officials are quietly admitting the Pentagon is running low on air defense interceptors and long-range munitions. Stockpiles are so drained that expanding the war could be hard to sustain. Hormuz is locked. The Red Sea now under Houthi threat.
I say it's time for us to cut our losses and go.
The oil already over $90 and climbing. Iran rejected another ceasefire today. This thing is spreading fast. And let's talk about the munitions part for a second. How is it even possible that the strongest military on earth is already low on missiles and interceptors after a few months? But
listen, we was low prior to, and I thought that this ceasefire was going to, give us time to get our stuff together. But our stockpile has been low since they put the ceasefire in place swiftly.
Israel somehow has a never-ending supply of bombs for Gaza and Lebanon, like their warehouse has no bottom. Someone explain that math. We're told America is the arsenal of democracy. Yet the second the bombs start flying for real, our own stocks start flashing red, while our closest ally never misses a delivery. And then Iran thanks Jordan's own people and soldiers for the intel that let them hammer U.S. bases on Jordanian soil. Is that trolling? Or are they just...
I'm praying that it's trolling. I'm praying that it's trolling. Allegedly.
BS here? I'm not sure. Anyway, the region is waking up. The bases aren't welcome. The free weapons aren't free. And the people back home are about to fill it at the gas pump again.
Hey, this is...
And not to mention, I mentioned this in the beginning, Iran attacked the Kurds because they were, speaking out loud. President Trump said they support us. And what did they do? They got attacked.
Breaking news. American forces are striking Iran as we speak. This marks the 10th consecutive night of kinetic strikes carried out against Iran. Follow for the latest breaking news updates on the Middle East.
Wow. We are now learning that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth covered up Iranian strikes against Americans in the Middle East and covered up their injuries and never talked about them publicly. According to the New York Times, in the week leading up to the Iranian attack on Friday that killed 2 U.S. soldiers and left 1 service member missing in Jordan, Iran carried out 3 other strikes against U.S. forces in the country. Those attacks injured dozens of U.S. service members and damaged several helicopters, but the Pentagon did not disclose the strikes nor the casualties and the damage they inflicted.
I just played a clip where they said that they don't have to report that right away. So I don't know, but I'll keep an eye on all of this.
They are legitimately covering up information about this war so Donald Trump doesn't become even more unpopular than he already is. They are hiding casualty numbers and hiding the amount of strikes that Iran has launched against the United States. It's disgusting.
The cost of regular gasoline.
Get ready, guys, because it's going up. My last clip of the night, and I said this, the only country that is benefiting right now is China. Okay, and we'll get into it, but that'll be my last piece for tonight.
Is back up to $4 a gallon for the national average, and this comes as fighting has restarted with Iran and the United States, and Iran has moved through its proxies to close the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. That's the strait where oil is exported from the Middle East through the Red Sea, and they are closing that off. They are enforcing their own blockade there, which means there will not be much oil, if anything, being exported from the Middle East. So this means all oil exports are essentially going to be cut off. And
so again, get ready because gas is going to be sky high, guys. This will be our norm until this is over. I kid you not.
And that's going to send gas prices surging even higher. Now, it is unlikely that the United States will see physical gas shortages here, but because of the shortages across the globe, it will make prices go very, very high. We don't even know how high exactly, but some experts predict it could even hit $9, $10 a gallon if this drags on and on and on for more months. Here's what the average cost of gas is across the country, so you have an idea what it might be near you. But guys, this war needs to end to get these prices back down, because if fuel keeps going up, it just means the cost of everything is going to continue to rise. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Like, share, spread the word, follow along for more, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
As the war with Iran blows up and cools.
Now, this is my last piece, okay? China came out ahead in the Iran war, okay? Let's go.
Cools down from week to week, one trend is clear. The biggest beneficiary of this conflict is China. Beijing did not have to fire a shot, spend vast sums, or use up political capital, but it has gained more from this crisis than any other in 3 decades. The war accelerated 3 of China's long-held goals: a Middle East less dependent on America, a world more dependent on critical Chinese technology, and a reputation for Beijing as a serious and steady world power. Beijing has not tried to replace Washington as the Middle East's military guarantor. That would require expensive commitments. Its aim has been simpler and more subtle: get Gulf states to detach somewhat from the American orbit. Donald Trump is doing much of that work for Xi Jinping.
Yes, he is. Right now, this is getting ugly because our allies, they're going to look at us and they're going to know that we cannot, there's really nothing we can do.
America's Gulf allies have watched as Washington waged this war in chaotic fashion and with little regard for the damage inflicted on their cities, infrastructure, and economies. The Gulf is now dividing into two camps. The United Arab Emirates is drawing closer to Israel and Washington, but a larger group led by Saudi Arabia and including Qatar, Oman, and perhaps Iraq and even Turkey is likely to seek long-term security through a balance. Continued ties with the United States, but also dialogue with Iran and better relations.
Bingo. And I brought this because I told you guys, eventually these countries will start working with Iran directly. I said this a million times in my live streams. I said they will go around us and they will start working with them directly. It's going to happen. But let's go.
Relations with China. That is precisely the regional order Beijing has favored. In 2023, China brokered the restoration of diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Riyadh has since resisted joining certain American-led joint data.
That part, you said $10 a gallon. Can you imagine what trouble that will cause? Major trouble. But Mitch, can you remember me saying this? That eventually they will go directly through Iran or make deals around the U.S.
Data center and computer chip projects. It has bought Chinese missiles and drones, held exercises with the Chinese Navy, and explored local production of Wing-Loon combat drones. Gulf countries accounted for more than 80% of Chinese defense exports to the Middle East from 2016 through 2025. No one is trying to replace America's security umbrella, but they want options, and options reduce American leverage. China's more impressive victory is geoeconomic. At first glance,
get ready, Diamond Gang, because I told you guys this was going to happen.
A country that imports about 70% of its oil should be among the war's biggest losers. Yet China has weathered the shock better than most countries because it spent years preparing. It diversified suppliers, built what is estimated to be the world's largest oil stockpile, continued using coal and expanded nuclear power, and electrified its economy on a scale no other major country has matched. Electricity now accounts for about 30% of Chinese energy consumption, almost 40% more than in the United States or Europe. China installed more than half of all new global wind and solar capacity in 2024. For these reasons, China was able to cut back on its imported oil purchases during the war by some 4 million barrels a day. The war has become a giant advertisement for China's critical technologies. Governments everywhere are looking to build up their...
Not only that, they were not affected. They got through the straits regardless. They said, we've been doing business with them. We're going to continue to do business with them. They got through the straits with no problem. They never was turned around. None of that.
Solar power, batteries, wind turbines, electric vehicles, and grids. China controls about 91% of global solar panel manufacturing capacity and 89% of lithium-ion battery capacity. Chinese firms manufacture at least 70% of almost all clean energy technologies tracked by Bloomberg. The longer energy insecurity persists, the more the world will buy into industries China dominates. The war also advances a key Chinese goal, weakening the dollar's hold over global commerce. Iran reportedly allowed some tankers through the Strait of Hormuz on the condition that transactions be settled in Chinese renminbi or in cryptocurrency. China and its partners have effectively expanded renminbi-dominated trade to reduce exposure to American sanctions. The shift will be gradual, but the trend is now unmistakable, away from dollar dominance. Finally, there's the reputational windfall. The Trump administration entered this war with grand goals: regime change, destruction of Iran's nuclear program, eradicating its ballistic missile capabilities, and its support for regional proxies. It has achieved none durably. Instead, it is.
We have not achieved not one objective, but guess what we did? We managed to add on. As I told you guys this. Let's go.
Now hoping simply to open the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the war began. Donald Trump chose this war, and in doing so blew through tens of billions of dollars, wasted America's munitions, diverted military assets from Asia, unsettled allies, and demonstrated that even with America's enormous power, a misguided strategy and constantly changing tactics will produce bad results. China did remarkably little. It kept buying Iranian oil, maintained relations with the Gulf states, avoided the costs of defending Iran or policing the Gulf. This is Beijing's preferred approach. No dramatic confrontations, but rather the steady accumulation of influence. Over the last 25 years, the United States has exhausted itself in three major military adventures in the greater Middle East, while China has accumulated manufacturing power, technological capacity, and diplomatic relationships. Washington acts, Beijing waits. China has paid costs for this war: higher energy prices, disrupted supply chains, and weaker global demand. But power is always relative. Measured against the damage to America's goals, alliances, and credibility, China has come out ahead.
Bingo. That's it, guys. Woo. All right. Listen, that was a good laugh. So I will keep my eyes and ears to the streets, see what's going on, make sure that I come back with everything that I said that I would update. I'm going to look for it. Please, if you have not subscribed, right now I'm streaming through on Rumble to YouTube, okay? The Great Spills the Tea. Follow my channel on Rumble. I also have The Great Reactions, which I react to viral moments. My channel consists of celebrity gossip, my shorts and uploads, and then my live streams or award updates and other political topics. I am also on YouTube, The Great Spills the Tea. Please subscribe, guys. I'm trying to create a community. I want to start dropping the link. I want different people to come up. I want different people to speak. So please, we try to encourage people to chat. This is an open space. You're entitled to your opinion, even if it's opposing to mine. All I ask is please don't be disrespectful. Okay? So please, 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 and thank you. I'm new to Rumble. I've been on YouTube. My channel will be almost a year old. Almost. Okay, I just recently lost my channel for about 45 days. I fought to get it back, and I got my monetization back. YouTube, you can support the channel, super chat, super sticker, cash app, or just a simple like. Okay, Rumble, you can support the channel via a rant, cash app, or crypto. Okay. But a simple like will do. Okay, get me up in the algorithm. Keep me relevant. All right, Diamond Gang. Please keep your notifications on. I'm really going to try to do something tomorrow. Especially if it gets crazy and, things happen. I'm on it. I will try to put something together for you guys. I want to say shouts out to my Rumble family. You guys showed up tonight. Okay, I had a lot more people in my Rumble audience tonight than normal. But I always love the replay gang because y'all come through for me. All right. YouTube, hold tight. It'll get greater later. We haven't even been back for a week yet, and we are doing good. Okay. So, all right, Diamond Gang. Everybody, good night. Shouts out to my moderators. I love you guys. You guys always show up and show out for your girl. All right, Diamond Gang. Everybody have a good night.
It's your under degrees. Sip with me. I'll pour it hot, so hot. I'll pour it sweet, so sweet. Spilling his tea, spilling and sipping his tea, spilling and sipping his tea. Thanks for watching me, tuning in, subscribing, hitting that like, smash that like. I don't bite, no. It's your under degree, feeling great, spilling tea. Have a seat and join me. Sip some tea, unwind with me. Let's grab a snack and talk some smack. I'm your girl, I got your back. I got the news, I got the views. I bet you can't wait, I know you can't wait to sip this tea. Sip this tea. Spilling this tea. Spilling and sipping this tea. Spilling and sipping this tea. Spilling this tea. Spilling and sipping 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 this tea. Thanks for watching me, tuning in, subscribing, hitting that like, smash that like. I don't bite, no. It's your under degree, shining bright, set the stage. Hollywood dreams, red carpet scenes, glitter and glow, the secrets I know. Drama with flair, I serve it rare. I got the scoop, I got the proof. I know you can't wait, so come and escape and sip this tea. Sip with me, spilling this tea, spilling and sipping this tea, spilling and sipping this tea, spilling this tea, spilling this tea, spilling this tea, spilling this tea.